And bam, bam, bam. What is up? And welcome back to Nando Talk. We hit you with the double intro because my dogs were freaking out. I'm dressed up like a fool because it's the World Cup. Soccer, you know me as Nando Talk for the Dolphins for football. But we're talking about football, about soccer, the real game, the real sport, and we're ready to vibe. My first love, my first passion. As you can see, I've taken off the Dolphins jerseys. We switched it to the little Olympiacos, the Greek jersey. Peru national team, another Peru national team, my favorite club team in Peru, Alianza Lima, and then, of course, the Barcelona jersey. We're good to rock because it is the World Cup. It began yesterday as Qatar played Ecuador, and unfortunately for Qatar, they did lose a little 2-0, but it's all fine and dandy for them because they get to host the World Cup. It's been an interesting one so far, but I think it's going to go quite well for the countries involved. Yes, there was a little bit of debate on the ethics and the workings and how the World Cup was all going to play out. But that aside, if you just focus on football, guys, soccer, as we call it here in America, it should be a fun one, guys. I know I'm dressed like a fool, but I do get. You think my passion for football, American football, is real, dude? My passion for soccer is to the next level, man. And today we got to see the USA play against Wales. And though I wanted a closer match, I did get a little Coors Light for the game. That's how we vibe. It's unfortunate. It's pretty good. We did it tie 1-1, guys. And I'm going to be covering all four of the games so far. The Qatar Ecuador game, I'll cover as well. The USA Wales game, obviously, we're going to touch on that first because I just saw it. Then this morning we had England versus Iran, which England won 6-1 or 6-2, actually, I believe. Absolutely ridiculous. And then, of course, Netherlands versus Senegal. Senegal down their best player in Sadio Mane. And unfortunately, they were holding an off 0-0 tie until the last 5 minutes of the game when Netherlands scored two and ended up winning 2-0, guys. But it's been an interesting World Cup so far. And we'll start with the USA, who actually looked pretty decent, if I may say so myself. They started off this tournament pretty strong, I'd say. Timothy Way with a nice goal to start the U.S. off 1-0. Unfortunately, they did have a little penalty against Wales. Gareth Bale, phenomenal player, absolute superstar. Played on Real Madrid. You ever heard of them? Yeah, exactly. And then he's the captain of Wales, of all the Welsh players in recent years. Maybe besides Ryan Giggs, and Aaron Ramsey. Exactly. Yeah. No, Gareth Bale's the best one by far. He makes the penalty, of course, and ties it 1-1, guys. It was a tough opener to the World Cup, guys. You always want to get a win. I do believe it's going to be an easy-ish division for the U.S. Granted, a 1-1 tie against Wales does make it a little tough. It's going to matter a lot of goal differential now. When they play Iran, they're going to have to mess them up, And with treading a little lightly, the U.S. and Iran have a little bit of a complicated history, So I hope that the U.S. does mess them Iran up in soccer, okay? What's critical, though, is going to be this Friday's game, the USA versus England. England looks top-notch. Everyone top to bottom. And the fact that you've got guys like Philip Foden coming off the bench, world-class players who can just recharge your team with fresh legs, it's a little tough, to play them. They are definitely the strongest team in this division. If the U.S. can pull off a draw against England, it'll go massive way to locking in that 2 seed in the division. Obviously, a win would go whoosh through the roof for them. But I need to see a little bit more from the U.S. I need to see a little bit more toughness, a little bit more resolve. There were a lot of the plays where they were getting pushed off the ball. And yes, I know it's a lot of the thing in soccer to complain about the refs. We're big fans of that. But show some toughness at the end of the day. You can't be pushed off every single play. We've got some of the bigger players in this tournament. Yes, we're a little younger, so that means we're not, maybe the most developed size-wise, but we've got athletic guys. Put that to work, and the U.S. can do a lot more business. They were moving the ball around pretty well. I was very surprised, honestly. I am Peruvian, so I'm a Peru soccer team fan. I'm more of a South American style. So when America plays and they play in the Gold Cup, the CONCACAF is not too competitive for my liking. So I think that the U.S. is actually surprising. I think they handled a very strong European team. and that goes a long way for building confidence. Now, obviously, a win would have done massive news and would have really given the U.S. the support to rally behind. But a 1-1 draw where they were leading, a little disappointing, but not the worst of scenarios, guys. And we'll take off the bandana for the rest since we're going to talk more soccer throughout, guys. Hope you guys are enjoying this. I know I'm normally a Dolphins guy. I just spilled a little beer, but we're good. I caught the can. We're good to rock. No, I'm more of a American football guy, but it's the World Cup, guys. It's a month of amazing, glorious, just soccer, man. Just every day. You wake up at 8 in the morning Eastern time. You get to watch a game, get another game in at 11, another game in at 2, and every day just a little something new for you to watch, man. How could you not enjoy it? What is there not to like? How can you not be having fun, man? We're good to rock over here. Oof. This shirt is just too small for me, guys. Like, I can try to button it up. Oh, it kind of looks good, I guess. But yeah, I thought I was gonna be wearing this shirt to the bar. That was many, many pounds ago, I guess. We're still good with it. Very patriotic for the USA, but this small does not fit me anymore. But hey, I will still probably wear it to Bow Campers or Twin Peaks, wherever I end up riding on Friday. But I just wanted a little touch on some soccer talk. I like what I was seeing. I want to see a bit more offensive creation from Christian Pulisic. You are by far one of the most talented players on this team. Christian Pulisic has to really drive this USA team to the goal. Okay. He has to create opportunities when he can, share the wealth. They did move the ball around pretty well, but I need to see more. There's just this USA team is the second youngest team in the entire tournament, but that doesn't mean they can't be afraid to take a little bit more risk. Get creative on that offense, pass around, take some shots, pop some out from outside of the goal, man. Whatever it takes. Now, in the future, capitalizing on these games, obviously they're going to have to clobber Iran. It's going to have to be at least a 4-goal differential to stay close to England and to create a little bit of gap from whatever Wales does. So hopefully they'll be able to move on. Moving on, though, let's get to the opener of this World Cup. Qatar versus Ecuador. It was an awesome little opening ceremony. We got to see my man Morgan Freeman cooking it up, narrating the show, different songs from the different World Cups. And it all culminated. The ceremony started probably at 9 in the morning Eastern time. And it all culminated in an 11 a.m. game, Qatar versus Ecuador. It's the one game I watched with English commentary because I couldn't find it in Spanish. And I loved how Ecuador was named as South American powerhouse. Again, I am South American. I'm Peruvian. If you couldn't tell by those little Peru soccer jerseys right there. Ecuador's a very well-conditioned team. They're very strong, very fast. Traditionally, they play in the mountains. So that's where their advantage in South America comes. But as we know, when players step off of those when they get off of elevation, they still have this immense physical stamina, and that's what Ecuador really does. It's a big run and gun team. My goal for these, by the way, is if I can get one American more interested in soccer, I've sold it. I've sold my case. So let's use a little bit of American terms, huh? Ecuador's a big run and gun team, man. They're fast, they're athletic. They really take it to you, man. Back up and down the field, both sides, sprinting up and down, playing defense, counterattacking offense. And they really do wear you down. And from the first start, you could tell that the Qatar team just wasn't ready to match up with that speed and physicality that the Ecuadorian team was providing. They're faster, they're bigger, and they were just playing a more aggressive type of football. Particularly Valencia, man. He was everywhere on the field. He should have been credited with 3 goals. It would have been his first hat trick in the World Cup. I believe the first hat trick for an Ecuadorian player. Unfortunately, the first goal of the World Cup was declared offsides. At the time, it was a little questionable. The more and more I hear about it in the news and all the little reviews, I do believe that there was offside. It is the rule that's a little questionable. The goalie comes out of the box, advances very hard, far up, and it switches over to who is the last man on the field, who is the last 2 defenders. Now that it is no longer the goalie, the line is positioned a little back than we all thought, and it turned out to be an offside goal. But that still didn't discredit the merit and athleticism we saw from the Ecuadorian team to get down there. They responded quite well, but unfortunately, the first goal of the World Cup did have to be a penalty. That's not what I wanted to see. I traditionally, the high scoring antics of the World Cup is what makes it such an interesting game. Most of the teams are different skill levels, but that pride of country, of that patriotism just allows these players to shine and elevate their play to another level. And Ecuador really did shine on this stage. They knew that the eyes of the world were upon them, that this was the opener of the World Cup, and they did not disappoint. After that penalty, they still played that physical like football that they know how to play. I'm going to switch off between football and soccer because to me, it's football. Okay. FUTBOL. Okay. To everyone, it's soccer. But like I said, my goal is to get at least one American more into soccer. So here we ride. Um, Qatar tried to score what they could, but it was just not to be. They were just struggling to just create. There's a clear skill gap. It got to the point where even Ecuadorian fans were getting a little rowdy, forgetting that one, um, it was it's the host country, so you can't really clown them around too hard. And the second thing, the type of host country it is, you didn't really want to make fun of them too hard. Particularly, there was one Ecuadorian fan who got a little rowdy. He ended up having an extra discussion with a Qatar fan. They made up, shook hands afterwards, but it would have been a scary situation for him for sure. But 2-0 in favor of Ecuador. A good game, solid win by them. I was left very impressed. They do have still a tough group to go through. It's not exactly a cakewalk for them. They have Netherlands, Ecuador, Senegal, and Qatar in their group. Senegal, I thought should have been a little better, and we'll touch on them when we get to the Netherlands Senegal game. But without Sadio Mane, they just don't seem to have that difference maker to stay in. They were able to tie and keep close, but it just wasn't enough. But actually, let's touch on that game because Ecuador was phenomenal. I should touch on this England-Iran game, but we're going to jump to this Netherlands Senegal game just so I can wrap up with this Group A. Netherlands is first in the division because they also won 2-0. I'm not sure why they're 1 and Ecuador's 2, but it doesn't really matter. They had the same amount of points and the same goals, 2-0, 2-0. Netherlands, however, disappointed me a little in the same way that Ecuador really did impress me. With the Netherlands, I was left a little lacking. I was left a little thinking, why can't they score this easily? They have this amazing talent top to bottom. The fact they've got Frankie de Jong out there just didn't look effective. Barca kid, Wonder kid. They've got talent up to top to bottom, man. And it was clearly Senegal was missing their best player, and they still came out there to play. Okay. Cisse is a phenomenal coach. Okay. A Senegal legend, former captain, actually the first captain for Senegal to win the Africa Cup for them back in the early 2000s. A beast in his own right, and is now the coach for them. And it's always great to see a head coach of the same country have to share the nationality, particularly because one of the coolest stats of the World Cup is that no country has won the World Cup with a foreign head coach. So, hey, if they've got a player of that caliber, of a coach of that standard and of that intelligence for Senegal, they're on the right step. Now, the Cisse, the player, I think he's a defensive back or a midfielder, defensive-minded guy, monster of a man, absolute mountain. He's one of the few difference makers that we saw on the field making plays. But in the 85th minute, Netherlands finally out-talented them. And they finally were able to crack the wall and score a goal in the 85th. And it was just a little tough to see. And then again in the 92nd, 93rd, when Senegal was in a bit of a desperation mode, trying to tie up that game, just wasn't to be. I was left, though, like I said, a little bit disappointed in Netherlands. It was, I don't know, man. Like I'm trying to look at the stats right now. Senegal had 15 shots, Netherlands 10. Possession was 46-54 in favor of Netherlands. Both around 80% pass accuracy, like 13 fouls, a bit of a sloppy game, bit of a bore. And it's not what you wanted to see from Netherlands, a team that was supposed to be maybe a contender status in this World Cup, and now they don't seem to really have inspired that confidence. Senegal is a great team, but again, without Sadio Mane, I thought it would have been a wrap from the top. But I guess time will still tell whether this means that Senegal still has a strong team, which would leave us a little wondering always what could have been if Sadio Mane was healthy for this tournament. But it could just mean that Netherlands is a little weaker than we all expected. So it's something to keep an eye out. Ecuador might surprise us and take over this group if they can beat Holland, but we'll see on that end. We'll move on to Group B, okay, which is where we get that little England jazz. Okay, England versus Iran was a bit of an ugly game, 6-2. This game was at 8 in the morning today, the second game out of the entire World Cup. England had 13 shots, 7 on target, and 6 goals. That's a little tough. Um, Iran only had 8 shots, 3 on target. Again, a different caliber of skill. The 3 lines, when they scored 3 goals off rip in the first half, it was a little scary, man. To be fair, for Iran's sake the sake of argument, early on in the game, there was a collision with the Iran goalie, and it looked like he damaged his nose. He was bleeding a lot. Looked like he was a little rattled. He might have been able to continue, but unfortunately, he was subbed out. And for any soccer team, top to bottom, whatever caliber you are, losing your starting goalie is a game changer. Again, like I said, I'm trying to gear this more towards Americans, and I'll be doing more recap videos. Losing your goalie is really like losing your quarterback. It's an absolute game changer in your game plan. Same concept in the goalie as in if he's doing bad, you don't really pull him unless you're pulling him for the season. Um, when he gets hurt and you've got to sub him, you're not prepared for that at all. The communication on defense changes, how he positions set pieces, how he defends. The things he's good at just aren't the same. He's not coached for that situation, and it's a little tough. To the point where the starter tried to continue on the game. He tried to wave them off, say, "Hey, I'm fine. Bleeding is stopped." And then he just couldn't. Goalies, a lot of throwing with your arms, a lot of rotation, kicking deep. It is a physically demanding action, and if your head is not there, it just doesn't work. So hopefully the Iran goalie feels better. That is a shame. But 6-2 is tough any way you slice it, guys. Sorry about that, Iran. There's not too much positive to say. Clearly, England was going to win this game the entire time. There was really no doubt or question about it. But whether they could actually, do this, and again, we'll talk about American football again. In the NFL, what a lot of teams say is, okay, when a top end team plays a bottom team, I want you to blow them out. This was that. This is the blowout. Okay. For my Dolphins fans, this is what the Dolphins did to the Browns. This was just an ugly game. This is what the Chiefs do when they got to take care against the bottom teams. You know what I'm saying? Back to soccer world though, like England, where Netherlands was disappointing me a little bit. England solidified my confidence and my faith a little bit more in believing, okay, this could be a legitimate team that has a chance. And it's why I'm a little bit more concerned about that England USA game on Friday than I originally was. They showed they've got the firepower, that they work very well together. Jude Bellingham was a beast. Okay. He scored his own goal. The kid's 19, an absolute monster. Jack Grealish was there as well. Again, I said Philip Foden coming off the freaking bench. Rashford, Raheem Sterling. Like, they've got a young, fast team mixed with a good, well dose of veterans like Harry Kane, who've been to World Cups before, who know what it takes. And hey, the 3 lines like to say it's coming home, and they've got a good chance of bringing it home, guys. I'd love for the USA to play spoiler. That's why we wear this up. But hey, this is a little small on me, so I can't guarantee the luck for Friday. And then the last game. Oh no, I think I covered all 4 games pretty quickly, pretty simply, guys. I want to make this a short video. Like I said, the purpose of this is just I love soccer. I just want to talk about it a little bit more. This is a football channel, I know, but I am pretty passionate about it. I whipped, to toot my own horn. I whipped this up pretty quickly just because I wanted to I wanted something, I want to talk about this World Cup a little bit. And then added bonus, if I can get one or two more Americans just a little bit more invested in what I think is one of the most electric and fun sports in the world. Like, to me, I grew up watching soccer and loving and falling in love with the beautiful game, Jogo Bonito, Juego Bonito, whatever you want to call it. Like, soccer is the only international sport that transcends boundaries, countries, cultures. As long as you have a ball and two little markers in the ground on each side, four in total, I can play soccer. I can kick a random little spherical object around on two lines in the dirt and play. Um, and it's just amazing, I've had so much fun in the years growing up playing soccer, going back to Peru and playing with my cousins, my uncles, my granduncles. And every time during the World Cup, it's every 4 years. It's an awesome time to just reconnect, see everything. As a Peruvian, I've only seen us make the World Cup one time in the last 40 years. So, which was this last World Cup in 2018. Didn't qualify this time. So I'm along for a ride as a fan. I am an American citizen though, so we'll rep America. Hope for some other teams to win and pull out. I do like Argentina, obviously, for the Messi storyline. There's some pretty cool teams out there, guys, some pretty cool players and just cool things to watch out and look out for, guys. I'd encourage you, I implore you to please check out the World Cup, check it out and experience something unique, something awesome that comes around only once every 4 years. The next World Cup is 2026 in the USA. Get ahead of the curve, start falling in love with the sport now, and let's ride. I'll be trying to do more recaps every couple of days. And then just talk. The first couple of games in the group stages aren't the most interesting. Once we get deeper in the tournament, I'll get a lot more in depth. Right now, I'm just along for the ride, and we're having some fun, guys. So this is episode 1 on Nando Talk of the World Cup coverage, day 1 and day 2 recap. I'll put a little timestamp so you guys will have seen where we covered Qatar versus Iran, freaking Netherlands versus Senegal, England versus Iran, and the USA versus Wales. But as always, thanks for tuning in to Nando Talk. I'll be changing my room's background to the Dolphins stuff. This bad boy stayed, but obviously the jerseys, I'll have to flip them around. They are just chilling over there on the corner. But hey, as always, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, please. We just cracked 450. The road to 500 continues, but thank you for helping me get over the 450 line, and we'll keep it growing and flowing. I appreciate you all. I hope you guys enjoy the World Cup, and we'll be talking about some more Dolphins news this week, so please stay tuned for the good vibes. As always, chins up, fins up. Let's go USA, and I hope all your teams have a great and glorious World Cup run. Bada bing, bada bam. I appreciate you.